So I want to say probably on a daily basis, we'll get a message saying, I've applied for 500 jobs, 600 jobs, et cetera, and I haven't heard anything back, or I haven't gotten a single interview. And how can you be telling people that there are jobs when I'm not hearing anything back? First, I just want to preface this by saying, if you're applying for that many jobs, then there are jobs, you're just not hearing back. Now let's try and talk about why you might not be hearing back. So as many of you may or may not know, we do guidance sessions where we look at your job application. We either do the kind where we just review your job application with you, or we have like a bundle where we go through it with you, and we may even write it with you. Now, the reason I'm mentioning this is because of our work and service doing this, we've probably seen thousands, I kid you not, thousands of job applications from individuals at an F1 level up to consultant, and everything you could imagine in between, every specialty, every department, every bit of experience. Now, why this is important for you to know is because we've had this opportunity, we have been able to pinpoint a lot of the mistakes that IMGs have been making in this process. And we'd like to impart them to you so that you do not make these mistakes. Because honestly, these are the things that are holding you back. When you start thinking, or you hear about people who've applied for so many jobs and they've not heard anything back, a lot of times they're not doing that little introspection. They're not checking to see what mistakes they're making. And the first mistake I tend to see individuals make is they're not applying for the appropriate jobs. Now, what I mean by that is you could have whatever amount of experience in whatever speciality, but if you're going to apply for something that's completely different, that you have no background in, that isn't even at the appropriate level, because you're like, well, I'm a registrar in surgery, so by virtue of that, I should be able to be a registrar in medicine, even though the only medicinal experience I have is from my internship. It doesn't really equate. What you need to be considering, first of all, is what experience are you actually bringing to the table that you want them to consider? What specialities are you able to at least have transferable skills in? And then on top of everything, how are you presenting those skills to them? We already have a video where we talk about, the types of jobs and job titles and how you can apply into them. So I don't want to go too much into that in this video, but I just want you to understand, if you are someone who's at an SHO, FY2-esque level, and you're applying for SAS, senior roles, senior registrar kind of roles, the likelihood of you hearing back is very slim. So look, if there's anything that you need to be taking away from what I'm saying is, the job description, the person specifications, they exist for a reason. Don't think, well, I'm applying for acute medicine, so all of the job descriptions or the person specifications are going to be exactly the same. They won't. Go through them, understand what they're looking for. Look back at yourself. What are your transferable skills? I keep saying that because that's really what it comes down to. You need to be able to demonstrate to them what you have in your experience that relates to what they are looking for, not just blindly applying for the sake of applying. There are a lot of specialities that do have like cross cover. Like for instance, I could say that if you have acute medicine experience, it wouldn't be out of your way to apply for emergency medicine or even intensive care medicine. Same with anesthesia. You could go back to intensive care. You could potentially even show something for emergency medicine. But if you're somebody who has very, very niche specialized experience, unfortunately, you will probably just be looking within the realms of your speciality, unless there is a further speciality step back you could take. So for instance, if you are doing something like upper GI, you could probably take a step back and do general surgery. But it would be a little bit of an ask to take a step back into obs and gynae, which, while surgical, is not the same thing. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. Another thing is, I think I've noticed a lot lately on social media, somebody will say they have an upcoming interview. And suddenly all the comments will be flooded with share your profile, share your profile. Not, I guess, more appropriately, share your credentials along the lines of what's your portfolio, what are you bringing to the table that you got a job for. Rather, they just actually want to see the person's job profile. And what happens is there are a lot of people who just copy paste other people's job profiles because they think to themselves, okay, well, if that person got a job with that profile, I'll just say the same things and maybe I'll modify a little bit here and there, because we kind of have similar backgrounds or we kind of graduated around the same time. And if they got it, then I definitely will too. But it doesn't work like that for obvious reasons. The first one being, it's not you. So the experience they've put in it's not going to work for you. The second thing, like we already said, the job they applied for, it's not the job you've applied for. There's going to be something that's different in it that won't necessarily ring true. Third, apply for your own jobs. It's not that difficult. You shouldn't be copying and pasting. I don't even think it's a very ethical thing to do. I mean, I don't want to necessarily get into the whole topic about that, but think about it. If you've put all this time and effort into preparing for your exams, getting your registration, this is just your next bug to bear, unfortunately. You've got to figure out how you want to put together your application. Now, moving on from that, the next thing that people seem to do that drives me absolutely up the wall, and I've probably said this in every single video that we've made about this, spelling mistakes, using caps, and terrible grammar. You guys, like, online dictionaries are free. You can check your spelling. For grammar, use Grammarly. There's so many things out there. If you're not sure about, check. But don't try and put yourself in a situation where you're putting together a very poor product for the sake of, well, I just need to apply today so I can say that I've applied for 5 jobs today. Or this job is closing in the next day or in a couple of hours, and I just need to apply so that they can see my application. This application will not reflect well on you. And there are some job applications out there you may or may not have seen that say something along the lines of, if you've previously applied in this role and were unsuccessful, don't apply again. So why would you want to potentially put yourself in that situation where you've closed the door for the future because you decided to rush? And for what? Plan things out. Everything that you're putting in this application, when somebody sits there and reads it, it's you on that piece of paper. It's the same way if you came to an interview in wrinkled clothes, looking disheveled, you've not combed your hair, you've not washed your face, but you came to the interview, right? They should still give you the job because you turned up. But it's not like that. You need to put your best foot forward, and making sure your spelling, grammar, and not using caps is on point is all part of that. Which brings me to my next point, the use of AI. Look, far be it from me to say you shouldn't use artificial intelligence when I just told you to go use something like Grammarly. But with everything, there should be some limitation. I have seen people I don't even know what they're putting into their AI and what's coming out, but what's coming out is basically drivel. It doesn't make sense. The grammar is all over the place. They're using words that I'm sure they don't know the meaning of. And the phrases also sound very clunky. They sound artificial. Hey, guess what? AI sounds artificial, and it doesn't read like a human wrote it because of the artificiality of it. So you want to try and sound like you, because you are the person that they're trying to hire. They're not hiring ChatGPT or Bard or whatever you're using. AI has its merits. You can use it to double check something. You can ask it to explain something. Heck, I would even say if you want to run that job description and person specification through AI so that it can pull out the salient things that you need to know about that role, by all means. But don't try and use that to be like, now write me a really good supporting information, where then you just sound like somebody just rewrote the job description and put I in front of it rather than just a generic person that we're looking for. Because that doesn't come across well. It doesn't sound natural, and I can guarantee you, the minute a human reads it, they will know this is fake, that you haven't even put in a little bit of time or effort to that application to make it sound like you. It is not a matter, again, about time that you're saying, well, I just have to get something out there so I can just apply. Otherwise, I'm missing out on this job. This is such a great job. You're going to be missing out on this job anyway because you've given them something that's not you. So take the time, use AI in a smart way, but don't use it as this is how I'm going to write my entire application. The next concern a lot of IMGs seem to have is, okay, I don't have a lot of training, or I don't have a lot of experience in getting these certifications or courses or conferences, so I'm just going to do a bunch of random ones, and that should look really good. The problem is when you do a bunch of random ones that may not even be connected to what you're applying into, it just makes you seem disorganized and disjointed. It doesn't seem like you are even dedicated to any one particular speciality or field. So don't just do random things. If you're going to do something, it should have a train of thought, and you need to see how it can reflectively be useful for your portfolio. So I will give you an example. I think at least 8 out of 10 of the applications I see, people are doing the Teach the Teacher course. Now again, far be it from me to say it's not a good course to do, but why are you doing it? Have you stopped and asked yourself? It's not an inexpensive course. It also requires a little bit of commitment on your part. But what are you hoping to get out of it? What are you hoping it's adding to your portfolio? And what you'll tell me is a breeze. I don't have any teaching experience, or at least I don't have any formal teaching experience, so I'll just do this course. Okay, is this course giving you formal teaching experience? No. Are you applying for a job where you're going to be a teacher? No. So did you look at the person specification and the job description, and did it ask, or did it say desirable would be somebody who completed Teach the Teacher course? No. So why did you do it? Instead, look at courses that might be mentioned in this job description. A lot of times in certain specialities, they will tell you straightforward what we're looking for in desirable or even essential as courses completed. Those would be very important. At the very minimum, if you do BLS, and remember, this BLS does not have to be Recess UK certified or anything like that, just to say that, look, I'm trying to find other things that will be appropriate for my portfolio, for my job application, start there. Then when it comes to ILS or ALS, when you're in the UK, or if you think you can get it done somewhere nearby that's Recess UK or European Resuscitation Council, approved, do it. Those are the things that are appropriate for your job application usually. Now, of course, there are other specialities where you might have to do something like, PALS, there may be ATLS, courses like Alert, Impact. There's so many different courses out there, but you need to see what is actually important for the role you are applying for. Just because I listed all of these courses, guys, that doesn't mean you should go rush out and sign up for them tomorrow, especially if they aren't indicative of what you want to do tomorrow. The thing I want you to understand is do your homework. Don't just spend your money, all right? Willy-nilly at least. And remember, there are a lot of ways that you can gain experience for free. If you're thinking, I need to get teaching experience, if you're working right now in your home country, guess what? You can teach people. There are ways for you to do things without you always having to think that I have to hand over a good chunk of change in order to have a well-rounded portfolio or application. Another thing, and I don't know why this is the case, why are you all not mentioning your complete work history? Okay, I'm seeing applications where someone, for instance, has graduated in 2008 from medical school, and they're only showing work history from present day to about 2012, 2015, and nothing before that. And it looks like they've just got this huge gap. And they don't, because when I talk to them, they're like, oh yeah, I was just doing this job or that job. They were working as a doctor. They haven't mentioned it because they thought it's not really that important to mention. Everything you've done when you're working as a doctor is important, okay? Now, if you took a year off and you decided to work at Pizza Hut, I'm not saying you need to be mentioning that on your job application. There's a section there for gaps where you can explain why you have gaps and what was happening during that time, and that's fine. But if you have random chunks in your work experience that you're just not explaining, and on top of that, you actually were working, why would you just shoot yourself in the foot? Your internship, it counts as work experience, you guys. You can also mention clinical observerships and clinical attachments. While these are not technically paid work experiences, they are still experiences. You still went and you did something. Mention your observerships. Mention your attachments, okay? So think of it, your timeline starts from whenever you graduated or whenever your internship was from until now. Everything needs to be mentioned. You shouldn't be leaving anything out. The last thing, and it's really concerning, honestly, to me to see this, is the unnecessary platitudes and begging that I see in a lot of applications and their supporting information. First of all, you all, when you read the supporting information, I'm gonna again echo myself by saying, it clearly states if you've already mentioned something in other parts of the application, do not mention it here again. Still, some of us feel the need to rewrite our entire application there again. Okay, fine. But the point I'm trying to make right now is there's a good chunk of y'all who will spend a paragraph or two either at the start, sometimes at the end, sometimes throughout the application, where you are basically telling them, okay, well, did you know the NHS is the greatest place in the world to work? Because I do, and I Googled your hospital, and it's like amazing, and you have all of these beds, and a really big emergency care center, and I really want to work there, because in my country, we're super duper, underprivileged, impoverished, we don't have the things that we need to have, and because of that, I really feel if I work for you all, it would help me. How does that help your application? First of all, I'm not sure who you're trying to butter up here. The consultant sitting there, they don't care. HR, whoever's reading it, it just sounds like you're self-serving. You're trying to basically say to them, look, I need to get to a place where I can put my portfolio together, and you guys look like you're offering something great, so you should just be hiring me because of whatever. And maybe, yeah, I'm sure that's what it is. You're like, I need a job, please hire me. But this isn't the way you go about saying it. And why badmouth your own experiences, your own background, your own country, to say everything here is so wonderful and I need to learn from you all. Otherwise, what's this all been about? That shouldn't be your takeaway in your supporting information. What you should be saying is the things that they're kind of asking for you that says right there at the top about your supporting information, what sets you apart, why they should be hiring you, not why you think this place is so great to work at, and your random reason to mention trust values, even though they're not asking you about trust values here. And for you to say, actually, I've stalked all of you. I've seen that a couple of times too, where people have seen who the consultant is, who's going to be checking the applications, or just generally who's in that department. And they write in the supporting information that I've read about all these consultants and I really want to work with them because of this paper they've published or that thing that they've done. You guys, that comes off as really stalker-esque. And I don't know what you're trying to achieve by saying this, but please don't. That's just not the way to go about this. All right, so that about wraps up this video. I probably will come out with another version of this in a couple more months, depending on what happens in these job applications that I'm seeing. But I'm really, really hoping I don't. Guys, we've made so many videos talking about mistakes we've seen and things that are keeping you from having a successful job application. And it's all because we know that you can succeed. It's possible. You're applying for these jobs, apply well, apply smart. And if you feel like you need us to still review it, by all means, you could always book a session and we'll be more than happy to do that. But until next time, please follow us on all of our social media and we will see you next time.